Hello and welcome to After Scientology, Straight Up and Vertical, the weekly show where Tony Ortega and I get together and go over the week's events in the world of Scientology as reported on Tony's Substack. Hey, Tony, welcome back.
Thank you. As you can see, I made it back home. That was a fun adventure last week.
Yes. All right, well, let's go ahead and get to it. We had some interesting reports this week, truly interesting stuff, starting with last week was Memorial Day, and this is the time when maybe Scientology, well, let's just say there's this term called stolen valor. Tony, take it away.
Well, this is something I like to do on Memorial Day is remind people about the lies that L. Ron Hubbard and the Church of Scientology have told about his military service. Chris Owen, historian Chris Owen, is the expert on this. He's written a wonderful book called Ron the War Hero, and he's given us numerous excerpts that I've published over the years. And this one runs down just exactly why he was in the hospital after the war. It was not for war wounds, as he claimed. He was in the hospital for pink eye and hemorrhoids and an ulcer. He was not machine gunned in Java like he liked to tell people. Now, the reason this is important is not just because it adds to the many, many, lies about L. Ron Hubbard's life that Russell Miller uncovered in his book, but it's important because the whole basis of why Dianetics was taken seriously by anyone originally was that Hubbard claimed to have been injured in the war, blinded and lamed were the words he used, and that he healed himself using this new science of the mind. And so the entire basis of this movement is related to what Hubbard said about his involvement in World War II, which was a lot of tall tales. And so I just think Memorial Day is a good day to remind people of that. And Chris does such a good job going through the actual records and discuss not only was he never in combat, but every single one of his appointments and his commands were disasters. The guy just had a disastrous World War II. Whatever he was given or responsibility to do, he completely messed up. And but the church does everything it can to bury that. And Hubbard made it sound like he practically won World War II all by himself. So I don't know. I think it's important to remind people that so much of what Dianetics and Scientology became was based on these utter lies.
Absolutely, and thank you for underlining and highlighting that because it's such a key thing in the history. In fact, let me throw out. You remember Tommy Davis years ago, the Scientology spokesperson. He was the young gun, face of Scientology, and he disappeared. And what did he disappear for? Well, I believe he disappeared because on CNN, I think it was, he admitted out loud, well, if Hubbard didn't suffer these war wounds, then the whole basis of Dianetics, like he said that out loud.
Okay, well, let me correct you, Chris.
Oh, please.
What he said on CNN was there's no disconnection, and that caused a flap all by itself. No, what happened was when Lawrence Wright was working on his story for the New Yorker in late 2010.
There we go.
They met. And I don't know that Scientology realized that Larry had gone to the trouble to get Hubbard's war records independently. Everybody else was relying on what the church said, which was bogus. Lawrence Wright got the actual records from military archives. They sat down, at the New Yorker offices. They had like lawyers with them and everything. And Tommy Davis told them, listen, if Hubbard was not injured in the war, and he did not heal himself, then Dianetics is a lie. And of course, Lawrence Wright's writing that down like, oh my God, this is the perfect ending to my story. And that ends up in the last, I don't know, couple hundred words in this 10,000 word New Yorker cover story. So, and then Lawrence Wright can show, it is a lie. He never did heal himself. So therefore, according to Tommy Davis, Dianetics is a lie. That happened at the end of 2010. The story came out in February 2011, And in March 2011, I found that a website had been registered under the name whoistommydavis.com.
There it is. And
Tommy
that's like,
Davis
that
had
was
been
it.
fired from his job as spokesman. Now, he
Yeah.
still claims to be a member of the Church of Scientology, but he left the Sea Org at that point. He basically lost his job because he said the perfectly wrong thing. He basically teed it up for Lawrence Wright to hit out of the park.
Exactly. And that was the exact point that we didn't see Tommy anymore. And
That's
in
right.
fact, there hasn't really been a church spokesperson since then, other than in writing with what's her nuts, right? Because you had Yvonne or that lawyer.
After Tommy left,
Hmm.
they were just all journalists could do was get emails out of what's her name? I'm
I
blanking
know,
on
right? We can't even remember her name. She's so prominent.
it. Corinne Powell.
That's it.
And when they absolutely needed somebody on camera, when Leah was coming out and Ron Miscavige's book was coming out, they trotted out Monique Yingling, an attorney.
That's
They
right.
couldn't, they had nobody. So, and they still don't have anybody. They have, again, all journalists can do is hope that Corinne Powell actually answers their email. She doesn't always. She never answers mine.
Exactly. But that just really, I just wanted to, thanks for all the clarification on that, because that's it. It's such a linchpin thing for Scientology all the way to now, and they're very aware of it. That was really where I was going with that. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then of course on top of that is Hubbard making so many flat out false claims, not only about the injuries, but about his accomplishments and his
Yeah.
rank and rating, and the campaign ribbons, everything. It's all nonsense, and people have called it out over the years. And of course, Chris Owen, did his championship home run, book on this. It's
Scientology claims that Hubbard got two Purple Hearts.
impossible,
He got zero.
impossible.
He got zero.
And exactly, and as well as some of marksmen, some other things. So it's just what we call stolen valor. It's so low, for in recognition of Memorial Day, that when Scientology has anything to say about the military, it should be "I'm sorry," and
Yeah.
that should be about it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the next story, but it's just always worth commenting on every time, every year. Now, the next story was very interesting to me, and this was Val Ross's breakdown on introductory issues that people read coming into the Sea Org.
Yeah, I really wanted to get your read on this because Val Ross has been writing these really gut-wrenching stories about her personal journey. She was actually at one point an OSA spy, an OSA volunteer who was put into the FBI to spy on the FBI during the Snow White program. So she's got some incredible memories she's talked about, and also she went through some terrible domestic violence that Scientology really kind of swept under the rug. This time, instead of writing about her personal story, she wanted people to understand why is it that, okay, maybe you can convince somebody under a lot of pressure to sign a billion-year contract, but what keeps them in? And she wanted to describe that those initial weeks when you've joined the Sea Org, what is the indoctrination like that really sinks the hook and gets you so you're not questioning what's going on. You're going along with no matter how hard it is and the deprivations. And she does it with documents. She's got documents that Sea Org people see as they go through those initial weeks. So I wanted to get your perspective on this. Must have brought back a lot of memories for you, right?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, these were all references, issues that you read on the EPF, the Estates Project Force, the Sea Org boot camp. And flag orders, this issue type, this is black ink on white paper for anybody keeping track of how Scientology differentiates its issues. And flag orders are basically the policy letters for the Sea Org. They're how the Sea Org is supposed to run itself. And there are thousands of them. And these introductory ones, there are very, very few of those thousands that have gotten all the way out into the internet. There's still stuff that has never seen the light of day. But these ones were really a little trip down memory lane, of course, because this is what every Sea Org member reads. Now, one other thing that might be interesting to folks is that no Scientology public ever see any of this. This is all confidential to anyone outside the Sea Org. Just as a point. So you're getting some, inside Sea Org skinny when you read these things. And this business of few are chosen, the elite. This is the title of one of the issues that you read. There's not only punishment drive in the Sea Org, but there's authority-based elite drive where you feel we are the us, we are the powerful, and them are the weak and the people we have to deal with and rehab. So few are chosen. This immediately, right? Oh, I'm one of the special ones. And it really sets you up for this because the whole community, so to speak, the whole situation you're in is all on this ego trip. And so when he says, the Sea Org, as the Sea Org exists to raise the ability to confront and handle mess, matter, and, stuff. When one can, he can make it. Oh, I'm going to make it because I'm going to be. Hubbard defines a Sea Org member the same as an OT. Cause over matter, energy, space, time. So all of that's in this stuff. And it is the Sea Org steps up the process, he says, right? This is the stuff that indoctrinates Sea Org members to believe that while it's going to be tough and it's going to be hard, they're entitled to certain things. And this was one I'd actually forgotten about. So seeing it again was like a real ding, ding, right? Because they are promised right from the get-go that you're going to have clothes, food, medical expenses. Not quite. Transport, clothes, allowance. None of these, all of these things were taken or were not provided to every Sea Org member at one point or another, even though Hubbard's put it in writing here that these are required. And then, of course, there's the 2D sex stuff, right? The out 2D. Don't you dare sleep or be in a woman's quarters if you're a man, and vice versa, and all of that. No heavy petting. And this was a term that had many definitions over the years, depending on where you were and how people interpreted it. Because if you violate that in the Sea Org, it was RPF assignment back in the day. That's kind of how I ended up there. As opposed to now, they just kick you out because they don't have the RPF anymore. They called it beaching. And there was one last point I wanted to make on this one, what I thought was so interesting from Val's descriptions and writings, and that was how hard the habits die. Because she talked about for years after coming out of the Sea Org, she was in an environment where people were stealing her stuff all the time, her money, her clothes, her food, her everything, her toiletries. And this was, the Sea Org environment is dorm style living, and you're with 30 people in a room. You don't know who's taking your stuff. You have no idea. So if there's a thief amongst you, it's horrible, horrible. But the habit of writing your name on everything to prevent that from happening sticks with her for years after she leaves, until one day her kid says, "Why are you doing that?" And she's like, "I have no idea." It was so like, yep, that's how it is. All these habits stay with you, and they're ingrained from this kind of stuff. So it's I thought it was worth commenting on all of those things there. And I encourage people to actually really read through this article and check out those issues, because they are a unique look into the Sea Org and what they're told and how they are pumped up. Right. And because I'll tell you, I was on the EPF and it was boot camp and it was rough, but I was so pumped. I was so out of my head to be there and go, excited, because we were saving the world, baby. Right. Yeah. And look at how special I am for doing that.
Right.
So that's all, part of that thing there. So I hope people check that out. Now, this was cool. You and Alex and Joy Vila?
Vila.
Yeah, yes. So what was this interview?
Well, we've been writing about Joy for years and years, and followed her, trying to be a celebrity of one type or another in Scientology, and becoming a patron meritorious when she had married that photographer in Scientology. And then she got, all this notoriety when she wore a Trump dress to the Grammys in 2017, and got, very well known, got some ties to the White House. We saw her having lunch with Roger Stone, and Trump even encouraged her to run for Congress. She was going to run for Congress at one point. And then she kind of disappeared for a while. And there was this photograph that showed up a couple years ago. We hadn't seen her or heard anything in a long time. And she was sitting at a Dianetics table in Brighton, England, and she just looked miserable. And I remember thinking, what is going on with her? Well, it turns out that was her low point in Scientology. She had been trying to get onto the OT levels. They kept making her go through the false purpose rundown and all this other stuff, running her, round and round. And she was so frustrated. But what was really interesting about this discussion, I want to thank Alex Barnes Ross because we had heard that she was, she said something online about getting rebaptized and started to get the idea that she'd had enough of Scientology and she had always been an evangelical Christian and she's rededicated herself to that. We had a feeling that maybe she was out, didn't know if she was going to say anything about it. Alex reached out to her. They started talking. They became friends. And so, just one day on, I think, May 14th, Joy just went live on Twitter and started talking about how she's left Scientology and how satanic it all is and everything. And Alex arranged for the three of us to have this live conversation on YouTube, and it went really well. And she was great. I know that some of my readers were skeptical because of her politics and some of the things she's done in the past, but I think she really changed a lot of minds. I think people were really glad that she is speaking out. I mean, she's confirming all the things we've heard from the other people that have left, right? It's very important when a new defector comes out and says, "Yeah, all those abuses are still happening. Saw them with my own eyes." I mean, that's very valuable. It's very powerful. In particular, the thing that was kind of the tipping point for her was that even when she was a Scientologist, she had still retained her Christianity and she still prayed and that kind of thing. And you remember, Chris, I mean, Mike Rinder wrote about this a few years ago. Scientology is always saying you can be a Scientologist and a Christian. You can be a Scientologist and be Jewish. And we know that that's not true. We know that that's not true. You're supposed to give up other practices. And Joy said that that was the problem, is that they were pressuring her because she was still praying. Who are you praying to? Can't pray to Xenu, you know. And so they were really pressuring her to drop the Christianity, and she said, "That's it, I'm out of here." So I think that was really significant. I think she did a great job explaining some of the things she saw, some of the things she took part in. I mean, this is another big thing. And I thought of you. I thought, this is not everybody can come right out and start talking about it and talking about the mistakes they made. There's a very few. Chris Shelton's one of them. And Joy Vila now joins you, Chris, because she's talking about how she went through these terrible sec checks, interrogations, and she ran them on other people, and she feels terrible about it now. So things like that. She's really got some great details about that, about the regging, about how she was making money signing other people up. And another thing that was really encouraging in the talk was she was saying since she made her announcement just a couple of weeks ago, she's of course heard from a lot of ex-Scientologists who want to bring her on their shows and that kind of thing. But she's hearing from a lot of people who are inside. Because for a lot of Scientologists, she was an important figure. And a lot of people in Scientology have her same political leaning. And they're seeing her, making noise. And she says that a lot of current people that appear to be in good standing are reaching out to her and saying, "Actually, I'm on my way out too. I'm really glad you're doing this." So I think this could be a pretty big blow for Scientology. I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to see her example and dare to watch that video and maybe see our stuff. And so I think she's doing a great thing. And those people who are still skeptical about her, I encourage you to watch this video with an open mind. I think you'll find that she's really a fascinating person, and I think she's doing some really good work now.
Absolutely. And as I said before, when somebody comes out, it's two thumbs up. Period. End of story. I don't, in terms of any other thing going on, yeah, that's other stuff, right? But the fact that they're out from under the umbrella of Scientology's control is huge. And let me ask, the audience, right? 4 or 5 years ago, would anybody have thought she, of all people, was ever going to leave, right? I mean, we used to just
Well,
be
she
absolutely
wasn't on
sure.
any of our lists because, we've done that. We've gone through the list of celebrities and we thought Laura Prepon might be, she might be one that might leave, and she did. We thought Beck maybe might be one that would leave, and he did. I still think that it's possible that Juliette Lewis may eventually go. We know that Vonnie Ribisi's got one foot out. His own daughter said that. So we keep an. Then there are the ones we call the bitter enders who are just never going to leave. And I have to admit that when I was considering those lists over the years, I never thought about Joy Vila. I figured I didn't think she'd be, leaving anytime. So it is like you make a good point, Chris. You never know who might finally have enough of David Miscavige.
Exactly, which is why to never give up hope on anybody who's in. I'm just going to wag my finger right now because that's what I do. Now, I also, Tony, we didn't talk about this before, but I wanted to remind you of a 2018 story you wrote, which I noted at the time. And I thought to myself, I've always bookmarked it. I never forgot this story. And it was how Scientology sabotaged Joy's political progress.
Yeah, and I asked her about that during the video because I had interviewed her political manager
Yep.
and Robbie. I'm forgetting Robbie's last name, and
Rob Olson.
Robbie Olson. I interviewed Robbie Olson, and he had told me, whatever you think of her politics, whether you agree with her positions or not, she was like lightning in a bottle. I mean, she just overnight became a name in the MAGA movement, and she was getting a lot of attention. And she, like I said, she was going to the White House. She was dining with Roger Stone, and Robbie said that she had real potential, but that Scientology kept getting in the way. That when she needed to be at a particular event, all of a sudden, I'm sorry, I have to be at the Celebrity Center that day.
Yeah.
And it just, I wondered about this. In fact, this was one of the questions I was going to ask her is when you got that notoriety, was Scientology happy about that? And were they, trying to take advantage of it? And she was like, no, they were shutting me down. So that was kind of interesting. And
It
I
was.
it's interesting, in particularly because look at what's happening now when you got Trish Duggan at the Kennedy Center and John P. Cole is a Ukraine deputy envoy, and Grant Cardone's close to the president, and Pam Bondi's friendly with Scientology. It really seems like Scientology is getting involved with this movement, but back then, Joy says that it was kind of getting in the way.
Yeah, exactly. They kept scheduling her or telling her she couldn't go to these things, and that ended up sabotaging the whole thing. Um, which you could have your opinions about again
She
politically.
said in the video she thought maybe Scientology was concerned that if a Scientologist like her was involved in politics, it might run afoul of their tax exempt status. I can tell you that that's not an issue. The issue is if the Church of Scientology gets involved in politics, not a Scientologist. A
Right.
Scientologist can run for office. A Scientologist could run for any office in this country. It would not threaten the church's tax exempt status. It's not an issue. I really think it's just that David Miscavige does not like it when people become stars on their own and that he's not involved in some way. I think that has something to do with it.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think it actually is as stupid and silly as that because there was a missed opportunity in 2018. And like I said, I bookmarked it because it was important. And I thought to myself, that's really interesting in terms of had Scientology had political aspirations, this was a golden ticket, because you can't create an organic viral moment. It has to happen organically. And when it happens, you got to be there to jump on it. So it was really interesting how they screwed that up. And I thought to myself, she's going to get busted. They're going to blame her for all of this.
Mm.
And I wonder what that's going to do to her. And then we didn't see a lot of her for a while. And I thought to myself, So, I'm just saying it was interesting that, yeah, everything we thought was happening, that's what was happening.
Right,
Anyway,
right.
because, and let me just say it this way Scientology has a really bad habit of self sabotage.
Mm.
It's one of their features for us that they screw themselves up all the time. And this was one of those ways. And now we finally come all the way full circle. We can confirm, yeah, that's exactly what happened here. Okay. Now this, speaking of Scientology screwing stuff up, Scientology TV. We had a couple stories this week about celebs involved. What's happening now?
Well, on May 10th, David Miscavige held a 75th anniversary party for Dianetics. Scientology, the Dianetics, as L. Ron Hubbard's book was published in 1950 on May 9th, and on May 10th this year, they had the 75th anniversary party. And you know, Dave, he always throws a number of different. He wants every event to be like this. We're doing this. Whoa, but wait, we're also doing this. Whoa, and he builds and builds. So the thing he wanted to announce at this, even though it was, you know, it was supposed to be about this book, and he was giving awards to booksellers and things like that. He announced that the new season of TV at like there's a season at Scientology TV, right? So the new season of Scientology TV starts Monday, June 2nd. So the day you're putting this video out, the new season starts, and it's going to include a couple of new things. One of which is a talk show. I believe the title is Dianetics Clear Talk, and it's going to be hosted by actor Jason Dohring. And I know not everybody knows who Jason Dohring is, but if you're a Veronica Mars fan, of course you know who he is. He hasn't done much lately, but he's going to be the host of this TV talk show, and his first guest is Eric Christensen. So this kind of answers a question. First of all, Chris, can you believe Scientology TV has been on the air for 8 years already?
Wow. I didn't think it was 8 years ago. I was first reacting to that.
I think it's 7 years. 7 years.
7 years. That's still, damn.
Yeah, but still, it's
Wow.
insane. I mean, it's still unwatchable, right?
Oh,
But
completely.
one of the questions I think we all had from the beginning is, well, are the celebrities going to show up on it? And they really haven't.
That's
I mean,
right.
Erica Christensen at one point hosted a special concert for Chick Corea a couple years before he died. Um, that's about it. You just had the celebrities have stayed away from it. So that's why think this is significant. Is Dave knows it's an utter failure. So let's throw some celebrities on there. Now, Erica Christensen may be the high watermark, and after that, Dohring's interviewing a bunch of people we've never even heard of. I don't know, but get this, it's a talk show about how Dianetics has changed your life. Oh my God, right? And then also Carrie Kasem is going to have a podcast on Scientology. So
Do we know any more details on that one?
No, I mean, come on. I mean, every word will have to be approved by David Miscavige, But once I put that story out that I was really kind of interested in what this TV show was going to be and everything, I heard from Mitch Brisker, who, had been the film director for Scientology for years. And he was there when Scientology Media Productions was being built and then opened in 2016 in the old KCET studios on Sunset Boulevard. And he was saying that they had these ideas back then, 9 years ago, that they wanted to have a podcast, they wanted to have a talk show with the celebrities, and that, it was really hard to get Miscavige to agree to anything, that Miscavige thought he knew better than everybody. And Mitch made the point that if they're finally doing that today, if they're finally going to have a couple celebrities on a talk show and a minor celebrity doing a podcast, he believes it's because they figure the only people who will watch are in the bubble.
Right.
Because they know it's not good for their careers to be associated with Scientology this way. So it'll be interesting, I guess. I mean, I'm going to try to watch this first episode, but oh my God.
Yeah, you'll have to let us know how it goes. Let me share a couple of things with you from when I was in, because when Mitch said these ideas are warmed over, boy, he ain't kidding. In 1988, my second year on staff, there was a whole briefing about KLRH, the radio station we're going to produce. to produce Scientology on the airwaves 24/7 through a radio station.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
this stuff's been floating around in the Scientology world for decades. And who stops it? Miscavige stops it. Mitch made the very good point in that article also that Miscavige doesn't even know what a podcast is. I mean, I have been asked so many times, how come there's no Scientology ebooks? Uh,
Oh, that was one of the announcements is there is going to be a 75th anniversary edition of Dianetics, hardback, paperback, and ebook.
oh,
So,
wow. 2025, and they're putting out an ebook. How cutting edge of them, like this is literally I think the first or second one. So I think they did New Slant on Life as an audiobook. So, this is just par for the course for these guys. They're 10, 15, 20 years behind everybody else. And it's hilarious only because Miscavige is so convinced he is bleeding edge.
well, and the thing
You know,
is, I don't blame them for doing it in an exciting way and making a big reveal and saying, wow, 75th edition. That's, hey, that's marketing. That's fine.
sure.
But then they always say, like, this is going to be the greatest sales of Dynetics in all history. And you're like, do you not understand the situation you're in right now? I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But
Yeah,
I
no.
don't see this sudden new interest in people wanting to read that book.
No, and I think you're absolutely right that the major celebs are going to stay away, unless Miscavige strong arms them somehow. But it seems like strong arming them for that would be, a little bit off priority. So we'll see. Now, last thing was the fundraising is still going hot and heavy on a routine basis in Scientology, and we had a little look at a New York Gala fundraiser this week. What was that all about?
Yeah, so Scientology does this thing where they have a fundraiser somewhere to raise money for an ideal org, and they put on some kind of a party. Sometimes it has a theme, sometimes they have costumes. And then afterwards, they put together these really long flyers. I mean, it's like a single JPEG, like thousands and thousands long, pixels long. And for some reason, they like to email that out. This is like the longest they've ever sent out. And it's just all these photos of apparently a big party they threw in New York City. They started at the Plaza, which is just there on the south side of Central Park, and then I don't know, either the next night or something, they ended up at the Edison Ballroom on 47th Street. Very nice venues, very expensive venues. And what they're doing, Manhattan, its Ideal Org has been, it was one of the first. It was opened in 2004. But they are struggling to raise the money for one in Long Island. They have a building. They paid like 13 million for it or something. I'm sure it'll cost another 13 million to get it up to Dave's standards as an ideal org. And so they're trying to get money out of these wealthy people. And so they're calling it the New York Alliance, where people that go to the New York org in Manhattan, people that go to Long Island, all get together and have a party. And then they flew in Tom Cummins and Jim Bridgeforth, who were based in Florida. Now they're in Italy. They're these electricity deregulation guys that would be the two biggest donors in all of Scientology, except for Trish Duggan. But that was the thing that I noticed. I knew Victoria Cummins, Tom's wife, had said on Facebook not too long ago that, they've actually given more to the ideal orgs than they have to the IAS. I
Wow.
know that in past Impact magazines, the Cumminses have given something like 55 million dollars to the IAS, but he was holding a certificate at this New York party for 700 humanitarians. That is Scientology code for $70 million, Chris.
Man, man. I
That's
mean,
more. That's more than Flag makes. Well, that's about what Flag makes in a year. I mean, that's $70 million from one person.
yeah. Yeah,
Incredible.
it's wild, and it is exactly the Tom Cummins of the world that I am thinking Scientology is really zoning in on
It's all
catering
about
to.
them. It's
You
all
know,
about them because,
that's right.
the Hubbard model was sell books, make auditors.
Yeah,
You'll get people to train, you'll get people to go up the bridge, you'll get people to go OT, you're going to get a few $1,000 out of these people.
Yep.
I mean, now they're getting $70 million out of one person. They're getting about 400 million out of Trish Duggan. Jim Bridgeforth held up a certificate showing that he had 215 humanitarians, which is $21.5 million. I mean, just incredible amounts of money. So, yes, Scientology's struggling. Scientology's having a hard time recruiting new people. It's having a hard time staffing its places, but Dave is still sitting on a mountain of money thanks to people like Tom Cummins.
That's right. And one, I'll just throw this out there because we've been sort of conjecturing or putting out there for some time now, right? That Scientology is becoming more boutique and relying more on the whales. And we see this. One has to wonder, though, if people like Tom Cummins might eventually have a point of, when do I start seeing all the new people? When like when does this happen? Or do they just, one wonders about that.
You do wonder about that. That happened to one person that I know, Ned McCrink, who was an Orange County whale
Yeah,
and gave the first $1 million donation to open the Orange County Ideal Org.
that's right.
And he was very proud of that. He was proud that he was one of the principal people who paid for that Ideal Org. So and he was celebrated at the grand opening. Okay, Ideal Org was open. I don't know how many more months later he decided to go and check the place out. He said there were two people on course.
Mm-hmm.
And he's
Yep,
like, what's going on? What's going And when he started asking questions, they banned him from the building he paid for.
that's right.
And
And
that
he and
helped
his daughter was even in the Sea Org.
that
I
helped
was I was
push
with her.
him that helped him push him out. Sadly,
Yep,
I think it was part of a ongoing depression he had. He ended up ending his life.
which was
Um,
very tragic.
so but yeah, that has happened where somebody that gives a lot of money is realizing that it's not resulting in anything. I don't know when Tom Cummins is going to have that moment. I don't, it's
You just wonder, you just wonder because these are not stupid people. They are emotionally invested people, and that's the way to think about it. So we'll see what happens, but it's going to be they're going to keep pushing. Now, I'm also noticing, I didn't do an exact head count, but it's not like, this
oh, I
big,
know.
huge New York fundraiser. What is it, 35, 40 people here max?
Right. I mean, this is the biggest party I've seen them throw in New York in a long time, and it's still only 30 or 40 people.
That's
Now,
right.
now
So,
each of those people are given millions of dollars. Their new civilization builder means $1 million.
right.
Humanitarian means 100,000, and all these people are given multiple humanitarians or new civilization builders. So it's not a lot of people, but they've given a lot of money, and they probably will be able to raise what they need to open that ideal org in Long Island. And then the motivation they're told is not only will that then make New York ideal, but they're close to making the U.S. ideal.
That's right.
If they could just get Long Island and Albuquerque and Philadelphia and Battle Creek
Uh-huh.
and Hawaii,
Hawaii. Yep. Are
that
those
may
the
be it.
last?
Oh, and San Juan, Puerto Rico,
Okay.
and that one may be opening next. I've seen photos that the construction is actually underway. So
Okay.
those six, if they open those six, they will have made the United States ideal. Because Chris,
Wow.
California is ideal, and it's now a paradise. So
Oh, well, clearly. Absolutely. And of course, the most ideal of ideal orgs, Flag in Clearwater, right? And
right.
look at how they dominate their environment.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Tony, thank you very much for this rundown this week. There was a lot of interesting stuff here. Folks, I hope you found this informative, entertaining, and educational, as always. Tony, any sort of
Oh,
ideas of what was coming up?
jam-packed week of really
Ooh.
good stuff coming. I'm working hard on some really good stuff that will be coming out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So make sure you come by TonyOrtega.substack.com. Sign up for free emails. You'll get my story the first minute it comes out at 7 a.m. in your own email inbox. no ads to read, really nice, clean site. And yeah, we got a lot of stuff happening this week.
Nice. Nice. All right, folks, you heard it here. There is Tony's address for the Substack right there on the screen in front of you. Go to it, subscribe to it, get your daily notifications, and check back in with us on Mondays for the wrap up. We will see you guys next week. Bye bye.